The communication beacon crackled to life in the depths of space, its emergency transmission cutting through the cosmic silence like a scream in the dark. This is Captain Sci-Fi of the merchant vessel Starbound Fortune. To any ships receiving this signal, please be advised, we have a human aboard our vessel. I repeat, we have a human aboard. For your own safety, do not approach, do not engage, turn around now. 3 ships powered down their engines in the asteroid belt of the Kepler 442 system. The Vorthak pirate fleet had been hunting this particular merchant vessel for 6 standard cycles, and now they had finally cornered it. Captain Thraxon, a 7-foot-tall reptilian warrior with scales that gleamed like black metal, leaned back in his command chair. His yellow eyes narrowed as he processed the transmission. Around him, his bridge crew, a mix of various alien species united only by their love of violence and profit, exchanged uncertain glances. "A human?" muttered his first mate, Quell, a 4-armed insectoid whose mandibles clicked nervously. "Captain, perhaps we should reconsider this hunt." Thraxon's laugh rumbled through the bridge like distant thunder. "You're afraid of one little pink creature? The humans are a myth, Quell. Stories told to frighten young pirates. No species could be that dangerous." But even as he spoke, a chill ran down his spine. The stories were everywhere across the galaxy. Whispered tales in cantinas, on 1,000 worlds. Humans who could run for days without stopping. Humans who refused to die even when mortally wounded. Humans who became stronger when angry, who fought harder when outnumbered. "Sir," called out Nav Officer Zix from her station. "The merchant ship is broadcasting on all frequencies now." "Put it through," Thraxon ordered. The bridge speakers came alive with a desperate alien voice. "Please, whoever is out there, we surrender. Take our cargo, take our ship. Just please don't make us wake him up. The human has been sleeping for 3 days, and when he wakes up angry, oh, by the 7 moons of Zerion, please just leave us alone." Thraxon's crew fell silent. In the tactical display, the merchant vessel Starbound Fortune hung motionless against the star field, running lights blinking like frightened eyes. "Captain," Quell whispered, "my grandmother once told me stories about humans. She said they were the reason the Galactic Council created the Restricted Species Protocol. She said, 'Enough.'" Thraxon slammed his clawed fist on the armrest. "We are Vorthak pirates. We bow to no species, mythical or otherwise. All ships move to intercept, standard boarding formation." But as the 3 pirate vessels began their approach, none of them noticed the small figure watching from the observation deck of the merchant ship. Marcus Chen stood 5 feet 8 inches tall, weighed 160 pounds, and had been traveling the galaxy for the past 2 years as a cultural exchange student. He was also very, very tired. The docking clamp sealed with a metallic thud that echoed through the Starbound Fortune. Marcus Chen rubbed his eyes and stretched, his joints popping from 3 days of much-needed sleep. The ship's artificial gravity felt slightly off, probably damaged during the chase. "Computer, what's our status?" he asked the air. "We are currently under hostile boarding, Marcus friend," replied the ship's AI in its oddly formal tone. "Captain Sci-Fi has instructed all crew to remain calm and cooperate fully with our visitors." Marcus sighed and pulled on his jacket. "How many hostiles?" "Preliminary scans indicate 37 armed individuals representing multiple species. They appear to be, what is the human term? Pirates." "Fantastic." Marcus walked to the viewport and looked out at the 3 ships attached to theirs like metallic parasites. Each one bristled with weapons that could reduce the merchant vessel to cosmic dust in seconds. The ship shuddered as the pirates forced their way through the main airlock. Down in the cargo bay, Captain Sci-Fi, a tall, blue-skinned humanoid with 4 arms and kind eyes, stood with his crew of 12. They had their hands raised in surrender, watching nervously as the pirates swarmed aboard. Thraxon strode into the cargo bay like death itself, his heavy boots clanging against the metal deck. Behind him came his crew, Quell with his 4 arms, and razor-sharp claws, Grunt, whose name was self-explanatory, Vex the shapeshifter, and 33 others representing a dozen different species, all armed and dangerous. "I am Captain Thraxon of the Vorthak fleet," he announced, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had never met meaningful resistance. "Your cargo, your ship, and your lives now belong to me." Captain Zexhai stepped forward, all four of his arms trembling slightly. "Please, honored pirates, we have already transmitted our surrender. Take what you wish, but I beg you, do not wake the human." Thraxon's eyes gleamed with malicious amusement. "About this human, where is it?" He's sleeping in the passenger quarters. He's been traveling for 6 months without rest. Please, Captain Thraxon, I know you have heard the stories." "Stories?" Thraxon spat. "I care nothing for ghost tales and spacer superstitions." He turned to his crew. "Search the ship, bring me this human. I want to see what all the fuss is about." As the pirates spread throughout the ship, Quell sidled up to his captain. "Sir, what if the stories are true?" "Then we'll be the first pirates in the galaxy to capture one," Thraxon replied. "Think of the profit we could make, selling tickets, to see a real live human. We'll be rich beyond our wildest dreams." Meanwhile, Marcus had heard the commotion and was making his way toward the cargo bay. He paused at an intersection, listening to the heavy footsteps and alien voices echoing through the corridors. "Excuse me," he called out to a passing pirate, a large bear-like creature with tusks and far too many weapons. "What's going on?" The pirate, Grunt, stopped and stared. For a moment his small brain struggled to process what he was seeing. The creature before him looked so ordinary, small, pink, soft, hardly threatening at all. You're the human," Grunt managed to say. "That's right. Marcus Chen, cultural exchange student from Earth." "And you are?" Grunt's mouth fell open. The human was talking to him, casually, like they were old friends meeting at a space station. "Cafe? Grunt. I'm Grunt." "Nice to meet you, Grunt. Is there some kind of problem? The ship's AI mentioned something about pirates, but surely there's been a misunderstanding. Pirates wouldn't attack a diplomatic vessel, would they?" Grunt's simple mind reeled. The human didn't seem afraid. At all. In fact, he seemed almost disappointed. "You're not scared?" Grunt asked. Marcus tilted his head, considering the question. "Should I be? You seem like reasonable people. I'm sure we can work this out like civilized beings." It was at this moment that 2 more pirates rounded the corner, Vex and another crew member. They stopped dead when they saw Marcus. "Is that?" Vex began, her shape-shifting form rippling with uncertainty. "The human," Grunt confirmed. Marcus waved. "Hello there. I don't suppose you could direct me to whoever's in charge? I'd like to discuss this situation before it gets out of hand." The 3 pirates looked at each other, then at Marcus, then at each other again. In all their years of raiding, pillaging, and general mayhem, they had never encountered anything like this. "He wants to talk to the captain," Vex whispered. Should we tell him?" asked the 3rd pirate. Marcus smiled patiently. "I can hear you, you know. Look, I understand you're probably new to dealing with humans. We're not exactly common out here in this part of the galaxy, but I promise you, I'm much easier to work with when we handle things diplomatically." There was something in his tone, not threatening exactly, but final, like a door closing. Grunt made a decision. "Come with us," he said. "The captain will want to see you." As they walked toward the cargo bay, none of the pirates noticed that Marcus's friendly smile never quite reached his eyes. The cargo bay fell silent as Marcus entered, flanked by 3 very nervous pirates. 37 sets of alien eyes focused on the small human, walking calmly through their midst. Thraxon rose from where he had been examining the cargo manifest. At 7 feet tall and covered in natural armor plating, he was an imposing figure by any species standards. He looked down at Marcus with barely concealed disdain. "So," he rumbled, "you're the famous human." Marcus looked around the cargo bay, taking in the scene. The crew of the starbound Fortune huddled together under guard, Captain Zexhai watching him with a mixture of hope and terror. The pirates stood with weapons drawn but uncertain, like predators who had cornered prey that wasn't behaving properly. "Suppose I am," Marcus replied. And you must be the pirate captain. Thraxon, wasn't it? Captain Thraxon, the reptilian corrected with a snarl. Of course. Captain Thraxon. Marcus clasped his hands behind his back, a gesture that somehow made several pirates reach for their weapons. I understand there's been some confusion about the nature of this encounter. Thraxon laughed, a harsh sound like grinding metal. No confusion, little human. This is a raid. Your ship, your cargo, and your lives belong to me now. I see. Marcus nodded thoughtfully. And you're certain this is the course of action you want to pursue? The question hung in the air like smoke, from a fire that hadn't started burning yet. Are you threatening me? Thraxon demanded. Oh no, Marcus said with that same patient smile. I don't make threats, Captain. I make observations. And I've observed that you and your crew seem to be operating under some misconceptions about human nature. Quell clicked his mandibles nervously. Captain, perhaps we should reconsider. Silence. Thraxon snapped. Then to Marcus. Enlighten me, human. What misconceptions? Marcus walked slowly to the center of the cargo bay, his soft-soled shoes making no sound on the deck plating. Every eye followed him. Well, for starters, you seem to think that humans are just another species, that we follow the same rules as everyone else in the galaxy. He paused, looking thoughtful. Do you know why humans aren't members of the Galactic Council, Captain? Because you're primitives, Thraxon said. Your species has barely achieved interstellar travel. That's what we let people think, Marcus agreed. It's easier that way. Less complicated. Captain Zexhai was staring at Marcus with growing alarm. In all their months of travel together, the human had been nothing but polite, curious, and helpful. This calm, measured tone was something entirely new. You see, Marcus continued, most species in the galaxy evolved from prey animals, herd creatures, pack hunters. When faced with overwhelming odds, their instinct is to submit or flee. It's a perfectly rational response. It's kept countless species alive for millions of years. He stopped walking and turned to face Thraxon. Directly. Humans evolved differently. The cargo bay seemed to grow colder. We evolved from persistence hunters, Captain. Do you know what that means? Thraxon said nothing, but his scaled hide rippled with unease. It means that when our ancestors found prey, they would chase it. Not sprint after it. That would be inefficient. They would jog. For hours. For days, if necessary. The prey would run until it was exhausted, until its heart burst from effort, and still the humans would keep coming. Steady. Relentless. Inevitable. Marcus smiled, and several pirates took an unconscious step backward. And when our ancestors found a predator, threatening their family, their tribe, their territory, well, they didn't run. They didn't submit. They got angry. And an angry human, Captain, is the most dangerous creature in the known galaxy. Enough! Thraxon roared, raising his plasma rifle. I've heard enough of your primitive mythology. Have you? Marcus asked. His voice remained conversational, but something had changed. The temperature in the room seemed to drop several degrees. Then let me share some recent history with you. He began counting on his fingers. The Sector War of 2387. The humans sent one ship, Captain, against the entire hegemony fleet. The war lasted 6 hours. The hegemony surrendered unconditionally and paid reparations for 3 decades. Another finger. The siege of Proxima Station. 300 human marines held off an invasion force of 50,000 for 6 months. When relief finally arrived, they found 287 humans still alive and fighting. The invasion force had been reduced to less than 1,000. A third finger. The incident at Wolf 359. A human colony ship was attacked by raiders. No military escort, no weapons to speak of. Just families trying to start a new life. Do you know what happened to those raiders, Captain? Thraxon's rifle was shaking in his claws. They were never found, Marcus said softly. Not a trace. 47 ships, 3,000 raiders gone without a distress call. The only evidence they ever existed was a message beacon left orbiting the gas giant. Do you know what it said? The cargo bay was so quiet that the hum of the life support system seemed deafening. Here were monsters, Marcus quoted. The humans killed them all. He took a step toward Thraxon, who involuntarily stepped back. So I'm going to ask you one. More time, Captain. Are you certain this is the course of action you want to pursue? For a moment, the standoff held. 37 pirates with enough firepower to level a city block, all focused on one small human who stood in their midst like he owned the place. Then Quell's nerve broke. Captain, he whispered urgently, we should leave. Now. We're pirates, Thraxon snarled, but his voice lacked conviction. We don't run from... Captain, interrupted Vex, her shapeshifter form rippling with stress. My homeworld has stories. Old stories. They say humans are the reason the galaxy has pirates at all. That they taught us to be predators instead of prey. Marcus turned his attention to her and she shrank back as if physically struck. Very good, he said approvingly. Your people have long memories. What? What does that mean? Grunt asked. Marcus looked around the cargo bay once more, taking in the frightened faces, the shaking weapons, the growing scent of fear in the recycled air. It means, my large friend, that humans invented piracy. We were doing this when most of your species were still learning to make fire. His smile widened. The only difference is we got bored with it, moved on to more interesting challenges. He walked back to stand beside Captain Zexhai, who was staring at him with a mixture of awe and terror. But old habits die hard. Marcus continued. And we really don't like it when people threaten our friends. The cargo bay erupted in sudden motion as every pirate tried to retreat toward the airlock simultaneously. In the chaos of aliens pushing and shoving to escape, weapons were dropped, dignity was abandoned, and the proud Vorthak pirate fleet transformed into a mob of panicked prey animals, all except Thraxon, who stood frozen in the center of the bay, his rifle still trained on Marcus. You're bluffing, he said, but his voice cracked on the words. You're just one small human. You can't fight all of us. Marcus tilted his head considering this. You're absolutely right, he agreed. I can't fight all of you. Thraxon straightened, some of his confidence returning. But that's not really the question, is it? Marcus continued. The question is, am I willing to try? He took one step forward. The question is, what happens to the first pirate who takes a shot at me? What happens when I get angry, Captain Thraxon? What happens when you turn a tired, patient human into something that your species has nightmares about? Another step. The question is, are you feeling lucky? Thraxon's rifle clattered to the deck. Without another word, he turned and fled toward the airlock, pushing through his own crew in his desperation to escape. Marcus watched them go, then turned to Captain Zexhai with his usual friendly smile. Well, that was unpleasant. Sorry about the mess, Captain. Shall we continue to our destination? The 3 pirate ships disengaged from the starbound Fortune with unseemly haste, their engines flaring to life as they put as much distance as possible between themselves and the merchant vessel. Within minutes, they had vanished into the asteroid field like shadows fleeing the dawn. Captain Zexhai stood at the viewport watching the pirates disappear, his 4 hands shaking slightly as the adrenaline slowly left his system. Around the cargo bay, his crew was emerging from their terror-induced paralysis. But they all kept stealing glances at Marcus, who was calmly helping to secure some cargo that had been scattered during the confrontation. Marcus, friend, Captain Zexhai said finally, his voice barely above a whisper. Was any of that true? Marcus looked up from the crate he was lifting, a crate that should have required 2 aliens to move, but that he handled with casual ease. Which part? He asked. The stories, the wars, the colonies, all of it. Marcus set the crate down and dusted off his hands. Some of it. The sector war actually lasted 3 days, not 6 hours, and the humans sent 3 ships, not 1. But the outcome was about the same. And the siege of Proxima Station? Oh, that's completely accurate, though I should mention that those Marines were only holding the outer perimeter. The civilian evacuation was completed on day 2. They stayed behind to make sure everyone got away safely. One of the crew members, a young Tertian named Vix, raised a tentacle nervously. What about Wolf 359? Marcus paused, his expression growing serious. That one's true too. Every word. The colony ship was called the New Hampshire, 12,000 families aboard. The raiders thought they were easy prey. What really happened to them? Captain Zexhi asked. The colonists fought back, Marcus said simply. Mothers and fathers protecting their children, teachers and doctors and engineers who had never held weapons before that day. The raiders had expected submission. They got 3 months of the most vicious guerrilla warfare in galactic history. He walked to the viewport looking out at the stars. Humans don't like bullies, Captain. We really don't like it when someone threatens the innocent. And we absolutely cannot stand it when someone hurts children. The cargo bay fell silent as the crew absorbed this information. But Marcus, friend, Captain Zexhi said carefully, you are not like the humans in the stories. You have been traveling with us for months. You are kind, curious, helpful. Marcus turned back to him with a smile. I am exactly like the humans in the stories, Captain. The difference is that you're not a threat. You and your crew have been nothing but gracious hosts. Why would I be anything other than a gracious guest? But if we had been pirates, the temperature in the room seemed to drop again just for a moment. Then this would have been a very different conversation, Marcus said quietly. Vix raised her tentacle again. The stories the pirates mentioned, about humans teaching the galaxy to be predators instead of prey, is that true too? Marcus looked thoughtful. In a way. Before humans reached the stars, most of galactic civilization was peaceful, stagnant really. Wars were rare. Piracy was almost unknown. Most species had evolved past their aggressive phases millions of years ago. And then humans arrived, Captain Zexhi said. And then humans arrived, Marcus confirmed. We brought new ideas, new ways of thinking, competition, innovation, the concept that sometimes when diplomacy fails you have to be willing to fight. He gestured around the cargo bay. Look at this ship, Captain. Before humans entered galactic civilization, merchant vessels were unarmed. The idea that someone might attack them for profit was unthinkable. Now every ship carries shields, weapons, security protocols. Because of human pirates? Because of human influence, Marcus corrected. We didn't invent evil, Captain. We just proved that sometimes, when dealing with evil, you have to be willing to be more dangerous than the thing that threatens you. The crew exchanged glances. In the months they had traveled together, Marcus had been unfailingly polite, endlessly curious about their cultures, always ready to help with ship's work or share stories of Earth. The idea that this same gentle being could have reduced 37 armed pirates to panic-stricken flight was difficult to reconcile. There is one thing I don't understand, said Chief Engineer Crix, a crab-like being whose carapace was covered in maintenance tools. Why did they run? You had no weapons, there was only one of you. Marcus smiled, but there was something ancient in his eyes. Because they remembered what their ancestors knew. Crix. They remembered why, when humans first reached the stars, the Galactic Council didn't try to conquer us or integrate us by force. They remembered why we were invited to join as equals, despite being the youngest species in known space. Which is because fear is older than civilization, Chief. And sometimes, when all the stories align, when all the legends point in the same direction, when every species in the galaxy tells the same tales about the monsters that look like angels. Marcus picked up another crate, this one clearly weighing several hundred pounds, and moved it to its proper place without visible effort. Sometimes the smart money is on running away. The ship's AI chose that moment to make an announcement. All crew, we are now clear of the asteroid field and resuming course for Kepler Station. Estimated arrival time, 4 standard hours. Captain Zexhi nodded absently, then turned back to Marcus. One final question, Marcus, friend. The pirates, will they spread word of this encounter? Marcus laughed, a sound completely free of the dark undertones that had characterized his earlier conversation. Oh, absolutely. By the time we reach Kepler Station, half the sector will have heard the story. By next month, it'll be all over. The galaxy. The human who scared off the Vorthak fleet with nothing but words. Does that concern you? Not particularly, Marcus said, pulling out a small electronic pad and making notes. It'll make travel safer for everyone. Pirates tend to avoid areas where humans are known to operate. He looked up from his pad with that same gentle smile that had greeted the crew every morning for months. Besides, most of the stories they'll tell will be exaggerated beyond recognition. By the time they finish spreading, I'll probably be 10 feet tall and breathing fire. The crew laughed, the tension finally breaking. Marcus was right. He was exactly the same person who had shared meals with them, helped them with repairs, and told them fascinating stories about Earth's diverse cultures. The only difference was that now they understood what lay beneath the surface. As the starbound Fortune continued its journey through the stars, none of them noticed Marcus making one final note in his travel log. Entry 847. Encountered Vorthak pirates in Kepler 442 system. Diplomatic resolution achieved. No casualties. Note: Captain Thraxon may require psychological counseling. Recommend forwarding his ship's registration to appropriate mental health services at next port. Personal note: really need to get more sleep. Starting to get cranky, and nobody likes a cranky human. He closed the pad and went to help with the evening meal preparation, humming an old Earth song that his grandmother had taught him years ago. Something about lions sleeping in peaceful jungles, and the wisdom of not waking them up. Epilogue. The story spreads. 3 months later, in a cantina on the edge of civilized space, a group of young pirates listened with rapt attention as Captain Thraxon finished his tale. "And then," he said, his voice dropping to a whisper, "the human looked at me with those dark ancient eyes, and I could see the shadows of 1,000,000,000 years of evolution. I could see the monster that had crawled out of some hell world's primordial seas and learned to walk upright. I could see death itself wearing a friendly face." The young pirates leaned forward. "What did you do, Captain?" asked one, a three-eyed alien barely out of adolescence. Thraxon drained his glass of Taraxian whiskey, his fifth of the evening, and stared into the amber depths as if seeking wisdom there. "I ran," he said simply. "We all ran, and we never looked back." "But Captain," protested another young pirate, "surely it was just psychological warfare. Humans can't really be as dangerous as the stories say." Thraxon looked at her with something approaching pity. "Child," he said, "let me tell you something about humans. The stories we tell, the legends that echo across 1,000 worlds, they're not exaggerations." He gestured to the cantina's walls, covered with wanted posters, bounty notices, and warnings about dangerous systems. "Look around you. Every poster warning about human activity. Every system marked as proceed with extreme caution, because humans live there. Every trade route that pirates avoid because it passes through human space." He leaned forward, his yellow eyes reflecting the cantina's dim lighting. "The humans don't need to conquer us. They don't need to rule us. They just need to exist, and the galaxy reshapes itself around them. We become more careful, more cautious. We think twice before preying on the innocent, because somewhere out there, a human might be watching." The young pirates fell silent. "They've made us all better pirates," Thraxon concluded. "Smarter pirates. And that, children, is perhaps the most terrifying thing of all." He stood up, leaving payment for his drinks, and walked toward the cantina's exit. At the doorway, he paused. "A piece of advice," he called back. "If you ever encounter a human ship, if you ever find yourself face to face with one of them, remember this. They gave us a choice. Every one of us had the option to walk away." He stepped into the night, leaving behind a group of very thoughtful young criminals. Meanwhile, halfway across the galaxy, Marcus Chen was helping Captain Zexhi's crew unload cargo at Kepler Station. They had completed their trade route successfully. Profits were good, and everyone was looking forward to some shore leave. "Marcus, friend," Captain Zexhi said as they finished the last of the paperwork, "will you be continuing with us to the Vegan system?" Marcus shouldered his travel pack and smiled. "Actually, I think I'll stay here for a while. I've heard that Kepler Station has an excellent xenoarchaeology program. There's a dig on the third moon that could use some help." "You will be missed," the captain said sincerely. "It has been an honor to travel with a human." "The honor was mine, Captain. Take care of yourself. And remember, if you ever run into trouble out there, you know how to reach me." They shook hands, all four of the captains with Marcus's too, and then Marcus walked off into the crowded station, just another traveler in a galaxy full of wonders. Behind him, he left a crew that would tell stories for the rest of their lives, about the human who had saved them all with nothing but words and the weight of legend. And in the depths of space, on 1,000 worlds, in cantinas and spaceports and wherever beings gathered to share tales of the strange and wonderful, the story continued to grow. The story of the human who faced down pirates with a smile. The story of the species that had taught the galaxy to be brave. The story of why, when the darkness comes calling, it's good to have humans on your side. And why, if you're planning to be the darkness, you should probably find somewhere else to call. Because somewhere out there, a human might be listening, and humans, as everyone knows, really don't like bullies. End.